Well, we're going to get into the Word of God here tonight for a little while. And we have been dealing with the subject of prayer. And sometimes what I enjoy doing is that I enjoy taking messages that I have preached prior here in the church. And then on Wednesday nights at times, after years and years, you really get quite a bit of information, enough to really write a commentary on this subject in some subjects. But I like to slow it down on Wednesday nights and talk about and teach and preach about certain subjects. And of course, tonight and last week we dealt and will deal with the subject of prayer. We're going to deal with the subject of prayer in a different light and fashion, in different angle, coming at it different directions, if you will, in this series. And then also I want to deal with fasting. I want to deal with fasting and prayer. And I'd like to take the Scriptures and show you that it's biblical and it's right for Christians to fast. And so we will deal with that as well, because that becomes a subject. The question is, why fast? And do we fast to manipulate God or to get God to do what we want? Or what's the purpose of fasting? And we will talk about that as well. But in Matthew in chapter 6, and this is part of the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes start here in chapter 5 and all the way through the end of chapter 7 really conclude or culminate all of the Beatitudes, if you will. But in chapter 6, and let's look at verse 5, chapter 6 and verse 5, Jesus, here as we know, might be considered the model prayer. And he says, and when you pray, you shall not be like the hypocrites. And we kind of talked about that. We'll touch on that just a little bit to remind us tonight. What about hypocrites? Well, they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the corners of the streets. Now, the synagogue would be like a church, just like a setting like this. But that's when they love to pray. Notice that. Jesus didn't say they love to pray in the closet. They love to pray by themselves in a quiet place. It's in the synagogue. Now, does that mean that we don't pray out loud in church like I called on Brother Mike tonight to pray? No. No, it's the attitude of the heart. We're not here to impress you. You're not here to impress me. And if you are, then that's a shaky foundation and it'll crumble. Now, in the past, there have been people that have come here to impress me, but they don't stay. Because eventually, they'll realize, I'm not God.